Hi again, it's me, Cinnamon. I'm a 23-year-old working a corporate job who loves all things personal finance, especially budgeting. And today I will actually be recapping my spending for February 2024. February was a really different month for me. A lot of things have changed in my life, and I really need to recap how I spent in February to make sure I can budget well going forward because my spending categories have changed dramatically, especially from like what I was doing in 2023. There was already a big change in January as I was transitioning from ordering food out a lot to cooking at home now. And then now like that's changing again. So yeah, I just really need to see what happened and how I can allocate my income better at the beginning of the month to make sure that I don't have to roll with the punches too much. So let's get right into it. Starting off with what I assigned in February, I assigned $15,259.60, and this is my gross income. Out of my gross income, I assigned $4,578.94 towards taxes. You can see the activity is a little bit less here because I did have an inflow into my taxes category from my state tax refund, but I will do like a whole like state and federal tax situation video later after I finalized everything. And then I put $6,082.33 towards investments. I should actually send out this amount now. Yes. Should I wait? Yeah, I should send out this amount now because you can see my activity is way higher than what I signed. And that is because I was making a payment for January and February. So you can see that was handled through rollover. And I want to make everything pretty like clean and clear going forward. So I really want to make my investment transfers line up with the month that they happen in. So I should actually make that investment transfer right after this video ends. So I will do that. And things will line up a lot better going forward. But yeah, $6,082.33 is actually what I put from this month's money into investments. And let's see. A big chunk of that was going towards my taxable brokerage account, about 3,800. And then I also put $2,027.69 into my tax advantage accounts, my HSA and my 401k. And then I have some cash back and interest from my high yield savings account that I still need to transfer to my investing account, but I'm holding off on that because I actually want these categories to build up a little bit, and that is what I will use to pay what I owe in taxes. So that is that. Do, do, do. And let's go to what is next. Yeah, so I assign like my standard allowance that I give myself for my core spending, and I will go into the breakdown of all of this later, but I just want to cover the constant a little bit more that I won't really talk about in my recap too much, which is my rent. That's 1,700, renter's insurance, household utilities. Even though this is a flexible category, like it's a variable category, it was much higher than I expected this month because I got charged for gas and electric twice. Usually, like gas and electric is a month behind, so I would get charged like January to February in March, but I actually got charged January to February in February. So I think my roomie just wants to be like more on time with that. So that was like an extra $50 I didn't plan on spending. And then an extra $56 I didn't plan on spending was buy like pots and pans for the house, which I'm not really a big fan of because obviously like one person owns the pots and pans. So like I don't kind of get why we would split the cost of them. I would have rather just like bought them myself and like made them for the house and then I get to like take it home, but it feels like we kind of paid for someone else's pots and pans. But I don't know. These are just kind of the messy situations you get in when you have roommates. So whatever. I'm just going to consider it like a roommate tax. Okay. So I pay for Google Storage, which I've been meaning to like clear out forever now. I can't just like cancel it. I actually have to take my things like out of storage, which I just haven't been able to do. $50 for my phone bill, which gets reimbursed. $224 towards my commuting expenses, which get reimbursed. This was a little higher than my usual 215, and that is because I don't get my bus rides subsidized. I only get my train rides subsidized. So you can see I have a lot of bus rides I was taking, and that is because I was, yeah, going like to work from like a different location. So that is something I have to keep in mind. It does add up. It's not too bad, but it is a little bit over like my limit that I am given from work. So yeah, and I was lazy and took a few Ubers. My transportation spending, which I will actually dive into later. Grocery spending I'll dive into later. Being what else? Normal spending on health insurance and additional deductions. These are standard. Yeah, everything else I'll dive into later. And I think that's all that's like standard that I excluded that I will now go to. You can see income categories broken down if you're curious. I will now go into my spending total. So I just removed a bunch of those categories that I was just saying are pretty standard and out of my control. Like I don't want them to count against me too much because they're very much out of my control. Um, with insurance, I'm guessing I'm keeping that, but I can take that out since it is a little bit out of my control too. Let's see. Everything else should be fine. So yeah, just taking out the standard categories that are out of my control, that makes my like total spending in my discretionary categories. They're variable. There's things that I have like a big say on how much I spend every month in these categories. It makes that $987.38. So that is under the $1,000 mark that I arbitrarily decided would be the mark of a good month. I don't know why I just randomly gave myself that like goal. It's not the most positive goal to have. I really shouldn't care about it. But let's go into how that breaks down. The first thing is that I bought my mom Uber Eats last month and it didn't let me tip for some reason. Like when you send someone Uber Eats as a gift, it doesn't let you tip beforehand like you usually do when you buy Uber Eats yourself. And then it actually did let me tip. So this was just something like I was like, oh wow. It showed up like way later, like, oh, tip your driver. So this is just like following up on that. And the tip was higher, but I also have Uber credits. So that is why it's only $3 here. Um, let's go to my core spending categories. As you can immediately see, this graph just like looks very different from what my core spending looks like in January. So let's just flash back to January. In January, my main core spending category was groceries. So I guess it, yeah, oh, yeah, the colors are different. Okay, was groceries. And like my third largest category was $120 pretty much to social activities. But in February, I spent $524.90 in social activities, which is like good in a way because when I think about like my money dials, I want to be social, I want to give to my friends and take care of them and all that good stuff. So in that way, it honestly does feel very aligned with me. What's like making me wary is more so that this is just like completely different from how I thought my spending would be. But I'm happy in a way because this is like what I have in my budget is pretty much like very in line with my values. I will break down all of the social things. Let's just break it down now. Okay, to start, I went to a cafe with my now boyfriend. Yeah, I don't know how that happened. And something I'm learning about dating this man is that we do not eat the same. Like we can't split food 50-50 because it has to be more like 75-25 because he eats a lot of food. So yeah, we went to a cafe together and I was like, oh, I'll cover it. But I didn't realize like this man was going to order like 3 items, which is fine. But I was like, wow, you eat a lot. Okay, interesting. Um, Next is going to a restaurant with my coworker and I covered it and then just had her Venmo me for like some of it. And I like took a little bit off her half because I could tell she didn't love it. So I was like, oh, I'll comp it a little bit. On my side, I met a new friend at a cafe. This cafe was actually really, really good. And I think it's a pretty good deal. Even though $50 for a drink and a pastry, now that I'm reflecting, isn't such a good deal, but the food was really good. Groceries went in here, so just like, yeah, my boyfriend cooks a lot. So I was like, oh, I'll pick up groceries here and there, which I think is a smarter move in terms of like splitting things because that tends to be cheaper than like going to a restaurant. The controversial taco festival, I got $62 for a ticket for a taco festival in March, and I'm also gonna have to spend like $60 in Ubers to get there and back. So that is going to be interesting. I just really hope and pray they have flour tortillas because I cannot do corn tortillas at all. I will report back on how this actually goes. So a lot of some of the social spending was prepaying for things. Again, buying food. And this time I was like, sir, you're covering your part. Because how did I get something $10 and you got something $48? That is just wild. um, I made a bet. I lost it. So that was $5. Uber or Lyft tip. That was kind of a weird thing that shouldn't have happened. So they gave me a credit back. So that was $11. What else happened? Buying some drinks. These are like not alcoholic drinks. I just have like any liquids as drinks because I like to know how much I spend on just like liquid calories. This was like lychee juice at 99 Ranch. I got dinner with my friend and he way undercharged me. He charged me $25 when I'm sure my portion was more like $60. So I'm like making a mental note of that so I can like treat him when I see him again. What else happened? Went to a cafe with my boyfriend, always $50. That's just what happens, getting used to it. Ice cream. This was some food we got at a road trip. That was just my portion. Cake, but this like zeroes out because I was Venmoed back for it. So yeah, a lot of these like reimbursements I'm directly just crediting to the category because I want to make sure that my income isn't like weirdly inflated by me fronting for these social things. So there's a lot of like subtracting and adding back you might see. Mm, again, lunch with my boyfriend ended up being $50. And I wrote a note to myself. I said last time. This is my last time. I don't know why. I'm always like, this time there's no way you're gonna eat that much food. It always just happens. Like, so that added up. And definitely I am paying for like less of our stuff overall. So it's just like, how much are you like how much is normal food spending for someone individual? I don't know. And yeah, I went to get dinner with or lunch with my friend, and these were like the things I bought independently. Bought some boba, and then prepaid for a lantern festival. I just decided to get the tickets so I wouldn't have to get food at the festival because I don't know how that's going to go. So yeah, that is where a lot of the social spending went. And again, two things were prepaying. I do have an eating out category, and you can clearly see a lot of like my social spending is food. A lot of socializing revolves around food. I don't really consider that eating out because to me, eating out is like when I go get food alone because I don't want to cook. And this is more like a socially driven thing. If I wasn't doing it with other people, I would be at home. So that's just how I make this like demarcation. And there are activities in there as well. So like, I don't know. I'm just curious. Like, do you think of social things where you eat out as eating out, or do you classify them more as a socializing category? I don't know. Curious. You let me know. So now with that like gigantic portion of my spending out of the way, some lower spending items, groceries. I only got my HelloFresh twice. Um, one time I got it was 4 servings or 8 servings of food that I had to completely waste because I was barely home. I didn't cook anything and I felt really, really bad about that. So I was strategic and only got 3 servings of food like 2 weeks later because that was how much I was not home. And you can see I was eating out a bunch. So I was like being fed in other ways. Yeah, like all of my like food spending. Again, I was going out with my friends. I was going out with my boyfriend. He would like pay for food for different things and also cook a lot of groceries. So all of this is like not me just like eating twice or getting groceries twice in the month. I was having other ways of getting fed. So I did completely waste this and I feel really bad about that. Um, but this set of groceries I did make. Or am I actually still on this set of groceries? Yes, I'm actually still on this set of groceries because it gets delivered like several days after this date. So I'm going to actually finish up. Oops, I hit my mic. I'm going to actually finish up this set of groceries. I'm committed to eating my own groceries this month. On top of that, I had a pretty high spend So that was $146.42. On top of that, I had pretty high spending in health and hygiene of $133.89, but that's not actually because I spent that much. So I had a Target run, just getting caught up on things, and also my gym membership. And I was trying to, my soap bar that I buy is $8. And I was trying to just get an idea of how frequently I bought it. So I was going through like my logs and I just saw, like, comparing that to my ynab, that I had made a Target purchase, but it wasn't in my ynab. And the reason for this is because I used my friend's red card to make my Target purchases and I Venmo him. And I realized I had never Venmoed him for one of my Target purchases, and it was kind of a large amount. It's $83. So I sent it to him. He was like, "You're a weirdo. This is from multiple years ago." Yeah, I think this was from 2022 that I didn't Venmo him. Um, and he was like, "You don't have to Venmo me." But ultimately, I did end up Venmoing him. And while I was doing that audit of my Target purchases, I noticed that I ordered something from Target and it never delivered, and they charged my friend, and I Venmoed my friend for it too. So I was like, what the heck, Target? And they made it a huge fuss, but they did give me the money back, and it was $16. And my friend was like, this is not a good use of your time. Well, honestly, I think $16 for like the 10 minutes I had to be on the phone with them. Well, I was like 10 minutes on Target texting on the website, and then I had to call. So that was like 20 minutes total. I think that's actually really good return on investment. So I don't know. I'm happy with it. And yeah, that is what happened in this category. Unusually high, but I actually didn't buy that much stuff. It was just because I was covering a very, very old purchase I'd never paid for. Eating out. Eating out, $77.41. So small, and honestly, not that much. No Uber Eats. That's like still the thing that I love about this. Like, Uber Eats is a demon to me. I try to avoid it now. Because when I even buy food in person, like, it is expensive, but it's not Uber Eats expensive. So two of these eating out themes were Black History Month lunches we had at work. One was just going to this produce market and getting lunch for myself there, and it was really good. Getting watermelon at Safeway, like, again, I consider that eating out. People put that into their groceries category. Groceries for me is just like things that are tied to a particular grocery run, which is just HelloFresh for me now, but I might be mixing in HelloFresh and Trader Joe's, since that's going to give me more flexibility when I don't know how often I'm going to be home, since I'm like socializing so much. I might start putting like Safeway back into my groceries category, but for now, it's like eating out to me. I was just grabbing myself a snack. And then I also went to a Mediterranean place. I actually went with my friend, but I just put it in eating out because I was like, social spending is getting so high. I don't know. Let's just put it in the eating out. So, hmm, this is actually deceptive. I will change it because it is deceptive. I just should keep consistency in the categories. Okay. I'll fix whatever overspending stuff looks I see later from that. So now that's at $64.31. And social activities is at an even $538. My smaller spending categories is that I spent $28 and some cents because two of my coworkers are quitting, and I got them cake, and I also made one of them a custom card. The other one, I didn't even know she was quitting until she was like, "Oh, by the way, I'm quitting too." I was like, "What?" So she's not quitting. Well, she's quitting tomorrow. She's quitting on Friday. And the other one was quitting last weekend or last week. So yeah, she just snuck that up on us. And lastly, I guess could take this out, but my subscription for Google Storage. So that is all my spending for the month. I did already make my rollover video, and you can see I tried to allocate more to social spending. It wasn't up to the like actual $500 I spent. I do want to reel it in a little bit and try to keep it in the $300 range. And also, because I already prepaid for a March event and a June event this month, I'm expecting that this month was just unusually high. So we'll see going forward if like $500 ends up being more of the tune, or if $300 will suffice. I really hope it does. I kept my eating out still at 250, but I'm really expecting to be able to keep eating out at 120. But I am expecting also growing or that my groceries will be higher. I think this was like unusually low, but we'll see. Um, I still have so much to figure out. It was a really weird month. Just clearly you could see I was like seeing so many people this month. And yeah, hopefully things do even out for March. So I'm gonna report back, see how this trend goes. It's really just surprising. I felt like January, wow, my whole new budgeting system is working. I'm basing this off a year of data and knowing my patterns, and now all that data is becoming less relevant as my social life has completely changed. I'm happy about it though. So yeah, we will see. Thank you for watching, and I hope you had a good February. Let me know how you feel about splitting things with roommates and how you classify like social activities that involve food. Bye.